Wow, there you are, Coach. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you.
Well, Coach, we got so much going on here. I'll tell you one thing. We now know that Hollywood loves Coach Vermeil maybe more than anyone because, Coach, you've been depicted in two feature films by two great actors, Greg Kinnear and now Dennis Quaid, right? So how did you get that kind of treatment? That's pretty good now.
I really had nothing to do with it other than allowing these two players to play and become good players. It was Kurt Warner, a Hall of Famer. That was a lot of luck and a lot of work on his part. And I was very fortunate to be part of that experience.
Well, you've seen the movie American Underdog. It's tremendous, and I mean, I think you saw it way back, like last summer. You attended an event. What did you think of the film, and just to see Kurt's story kind of play out the way it did?
Overall, I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed the movie. Everybody that's seen it, I've seen it 3 times, hosting it once in California, as you said, hosting it in Philadelphia, and then hosting it in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame. And everybody really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. In fact, I liked it a little better each time I saw it. There's a lot of things that aren't 100% accurate, but they told the story. They left out some things. For example, the whole first year he was with the Chiefs. He was our third quarter back in '98. He was our starter in '99 after Trent went down. But they did a good job, and it's more than a football story. Really, it is, and it's a human interest story. It's a relationship story. It's a persistent and faith story. I think all age groups will identify with it. They've had 21 million people see the movie so far, and I think it's going to be the type of movie that parents will start taking their young kids to see what a person can do if he really makes a commitment and has a passion for what he's doing. And there's a lot of good things for all age groups in that movie.
Coach Vermeil, you've coached a long time. You've been in football for a while, and you have had the opportunity to coach various players in various eras. This era of athlete is a new era. What are some of the good things that you like about today's athlete, and what are some of the things that you kind of don't like about today's athlete?
Well, I think the most improved position is the wide receiver position. Everybody has a guy that can catch, maybe 2 guys that catches the ball with one hand, or catches the uncatchable ball, catches the contested ball. In the old days, it was a little bit different. Every once in a while, you would see a spectacular catch. I think Harold Carmichael, my Hall of Famer from the Eagles, is one of the guys that showed other people that you can make a spectacular catch. You can catch a ball in a crowd if you just maintain your focus and concentration and believe you can do it. I think people used to give up on those kind of throws in the old days. Now they still believe they can catch it, and they do, a high percentage. If you watch college games, you see it. So I think that's the biggest thing I've seen different in the NFL, even since I left in 2005. I think there's more quarterbacks that throw the ball well today than in the past. I think there's more of them. And I think we're going to continue to see more of them because the college game is so explosive and spread out all over the field, and they're throwing the ball 50 times a game. So it'll develop more kids for the National Football League. What I don't like, I don't like all the commercials. It really slows down the game for me. I don't like all the commercials. I would just soon see players not celebrate after individual play. That's what they're getting paid to do. They're getting paid to make that play. I think they should celebrate when they do something extraordinary. Maybe then go out and say, look what I did, something special. I'm not really a big fan of that. There's just it's such a good game today. I'm not a fan of how you have to run training camps. It's all controlled by the union, the time on the field, the number of times you can wear the pads, the number of double days, and all that kind of stuff. It really hurts the coach that takes over a new team. Because if you're going to be able, you're allowed the same amount of time to coach your team as the other teams that have already been beating you. So it would have been tough in my experiences, because we always relied on trying to outwork our opponent and develop more players that weren't drafted as high and give kids opportunities to play. It's tougher to do that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, we had you back on week 1 when the Chiefs were playing the Browns at home. What have you seen out of the Chiefs this year? They start off 3-4. I mean, people are talking about this cover 2 shell defense that they can't figure out. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they can't figure it out. I don't think it was necessarily that. It was just not executing a new style and way of playing, having to do longer methodical drives. What have you seen out of the Chiefs this season?
Well, I've seen what everybody sees. I'm now just a fan, and I study the chief numbers. I have every freaking stat you can pour on this report here in regard to them. So I study them. At the end of the year, I send them to Andy. I see an Andy Reid coach football team. No matter how they start out the season, they're going to get better. And if they start out real good, they keep improving. If they start out poorly, they get better faster. And I just think that's his great demeanor, his ability to handle distractions, handle defeats, and keep focus on what he's going to do and his staff is going to do and what he can get his team to do. I don't think he panics in those situations, and he handles the emotional side of a loss real well, keeps the emotional side of a win even keel, and just keeps plugging. And I think it helps his entire coaching staff. Certainly it helps Steve as going through tough times defensively. They bring in a player in a trade, and other people get healthy and they go ahead and play. And nobody does a better job of taking advantage of the individual skills offensively that are on the field at the same time. No matter who he puts in there, they seem to be able to make a play designed for him, and it's fun to watch him play. I wish I was as smart as Andy, believe me.
Oh, come on.
Well, Coach, I got to ask you about, a former coach of yours, a good friend, that we just lost, Coach, Greg Robinson just passed away just a couple of weeks ago. And, he was here with you side by side, and, he took a lot of flack for those defenses. And, when in reality, there just wasn't a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball through that era. But talk about Coach Robinson, just kind of how he was as a person, what he meant to you personally, and maybe, share a story or two about his time here in Kansas City.
Well, he was a first-class human being. I knew Greg when he was a young assistant at UCLA. In fact, he was coaching offense at that time for Terry Donahue. And I knew his brother. I coached his older brother at Stanford University as a wide receiver. I've known the family for a long time, all very bright people, all very conscientious, honest, with great integrity. And Greg was that way. And I brought Greg with me. I signed a 3-year contract when I came back. I brought Greg with me because he'd been in the division, and they won 2 Super Bowls while he was coaching the defense in Denver. So I figured we wouldn't have to jumpstart. He'd be ready to go at coaching the defense. We never had enough players for him to coach a great defense, but we went 13-3 his last year here with us. So he wasn't bad, And Peyton Manning beat us in the playoff game, but we had a touchdown call back in that game, So with Tony Gonzalez got called for pushing off, which today they don't look at it, So, but anyway, Greg Robinson was a fine person, fine coach. I talked to his wife Saturday. Laura was a wonderful lady. I know the family. I went to spend weekends with him when he was coaching in Syracuse. I lost a good friend. I lost a good coach, and the world of football lost a great human being.
Yeah, Greg Robinson used to give us problems when he was with Denver. He used to give Marty Schottenheimer issues. But Coach, I really want to ask you this. I think about the different teams and the different eras that come about. You got Mike Tomlin, you got John Harbaugh, and Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. And those guys seem to, wherever they go, they seem to have this lock solid atmosphere amongst the players. And you were the same. You went to 3 different cities, built 3 different Super Bowl contenders. And then we had, I don't want to pick on Todd Haley, but his regime was a little sloppy, for lack of a better term here. My question is, what separates coaches like Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin and yourself when you can go to different teams and establish a winning culture as opposed to other coaches who aren't as lucky?
Well, first off, I think that's a good question. First off, you bring a philosophy. You bring communication skills and an overall leadership approach to dealing with your team, dealing with the organization, and you work closely with the management of the football team from the owner right on down. Of course, I was fortunate. I had Carl Peterson. That's the reason I went back there. And because he had been with me at UCLA and Philadelphia, and I'd watched him grow, and I trusted him, and I knew he knew what he was doing, and he had done a great job there in Kansas City, but they just couldn't get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, so you need a combination package more than just the head coach. Todd's situation, he takes over a losing team, and some of the drafts that we had sometimes, didn't contribute enough to be the mature players when all of a sudden he's coaching them. I've gone through that stuff myself, so I know what it's like. And Todd is a different personality. And sometimes players get conditioned to a different approach, and then a new, more abrupt approach maybe, or more, I don't know what, because I was never coached by Todd, but I respected him as a football coach. In fact, I talked to him last night. So you got to take advantage of your own skills as a leader. Surround yourself with real good people that are smarter than you and that can do your job as good as you can do it, and then work like hell. And it's amazing how that brings people together. That really is amazing. Even when they're working hard, they may bitch and moan, but they will learn to appreciate the value of what they're getting out of hard work and the improvement they're making individually and collectively.
Absolutely. And Coach, I mean, the Chiefs faced the Bills in the divisional round. Sean McDermott, head coach of the Bills, was an assistant for 10 out of 15 years. Andy Reid was in Philadelphia. Just knowing each other so well and working that closely together for that long, what kind of role or factor do you think that plays when these two face off against each other?
I don't think it's a factor at all, really. They're not on the field. A long time has passed, a period of time has passed, and they're all coaching the players they have with coaching staffs that neither have worked with, Andy's never worked with Sean's staff. Sean has never worked with Andy's staff. It's totally different. But obviously, two very good football teams. And Buffalo is an extremely well-balanced team in terms of offense and defense. They lead the NFL in 17 different categories on defense. Hard to do that. And some of them are minute little differences, and some of them are very major contributors to winning. But the balance of Buffalo's offense combined with the balance of their defense makes them very tough to beat when they're playing well. But they got beat a few times this year by teams that I think Jacksonville beat, right?
Yeah.
So, you still have to be the best team game day. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to come to Kansas City and win the game. Not impossible, just very difficult. Because in his division, they don't face an offense. In Buffalo's division, they don't face an offense like Kansas City. Every single formation you can imagine has got to be confronted with on game day. Every variation of passing game, every variation of running game, every trick play, every counter play, every reverse. It's all in that package, and now the defense is playing well enough to keep pressure on the opponent offense. And I think it's going to be a very interesting game, very intense game. My computer figuring it out says Chiefs win by 1 point. That's including home field advantage of 3 points. So if the team that doesn't take it away, doesn't turn it over rather, and the team that takes it away, the team that doesn't lose a good play because of a stupid penalty, how many times have we seen a great offensive play and my God, and there's holding. Or a great defensive play, and the other guy playing left corner grabbed the whole guy's jersey. And you cannot do dumb things and beat a real good football team. Now, if you both do dumb things, then it's equal. It'll come down to something else.
Coach, how important was it that the Chiefs put some of those trick plays on film against the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, in the one where Travis Kelce winds up throwing a touchdown pass to Byron Pringle, you see kind of Patrick Mahomes drift out there into the flat. If you're coaching, do you find some way to get him the ball on that play? He's wide open, or if nothing else, he can go backwards and he can still become a quarterback again. So how important is it to put those kind of plays on film? And if you're a coach, are you going to get Patrick the ball in a desperation type situation, or do you just, go there?
You can't ignore a single down against Andy Reid.
There you go.
You cannot ignore that, or you can't put it in the category, this is just a normal offensive down, because it may not be. The variety of shuffle passes in the red zone going into score, these different things that he does. And though he's been coaching this scheme for so long, he's eliminated the things he doesn't like, and he's added things to it he does like, and he's added things that fit individual personalities and physical skills on his team. And therefore, he's got a great offensive football team. That doesn't mean they can't be beaten, because they have been beaten. Okay. But the main thing now, the team that plays smart football will probably win the ball game. There's no such thing as a team being flat. Okay. Buffalo will not be flat. They'll be emotionally excited to play. The Chiefs will, and the Chief fans no better fans. You know, everyone talks about how great their fans are, but that stadium is, it's electrifying to coach it. It really is. And that'll be an edge for Andy Reid and his team.
Coach Vermeil, you yourself and Coach Andy Reid are both known for having these extensive and thick playbooks. It takes years and years to master it. And I've always wondered this about coaches, especially offensive coaches. During this time of year, do you have like a secret stash of plays that you whip out during the playoffs that you save, you know, during the whole year? Maybe the players want to, you know, do it week 15 against the Raiders, but you realize there's a bigger picture ahead. Do you save some of those plays and stash them for the playoffs?
No. The first thing you do going into the playoffs is make sure you do real well what you've been doing real well that got you there. The biggest mistake you can make is to reinvent the game in 3 days of practice. When you do that, you make a real mistake. Chuck Noll taught me that. And Chuck was really nice to me when I was a young coach, and I would visit with him because Sid Gilman was really close to Chuck Noll. They had coached together, and I could ask Chuck Noll, an experienced coach, a question, or I could ask George Allen. I could ask people like Chuck Knox, and they would always say, when you go into playoff games, don't try to reinvent it. Now, you might do a few things, but, you know, on today's offensive staffs, they've got guys that don't coach on the field, that sit in there and study everybody else's offense, including colleges. And when they see a trick gimmick that would be easy to install, maybe you didn't think of it yourself, but someone brings it to you and says, Coach, look at this. Take a look at this video. They cut it out in 30 seconds with a computer and they show it to you. And they say, you know, that'll be interesting. Just like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Philly, okay? Yeah. I bet you I've seen that 6 times this year. I saw it in the college game this year. You know, people copy the other good things people do. It's easier to do that today because you have an extra staff studying and looking for that kind of stuff to enhance your own offense.
Well, Coach, we asked you about Greg Robinson. We haven't spoken to you since we lost John Madden as well. A larger than life figure in the game. A lot of people attribute him to broadcasting or to his video game, the Madden video game. But he was also a great legendary coach for the Raiders and the Super Bowl champion. Talk about just if you had a relationship with John and what he meant to the game and what we're missing out with him being gone.
Well, first off, I knew John Madden before he was John Madden of what we all know him, okay? He was a junior college coach when I was a junior college coach in California. We sat next to each other at football clinics, you know, and I knew him well. When I came into coaching as a head football coach in 1976, John called me and says, you know, the owners' meetings are in San Diego there this year, and I've been coaching this league, and if you want to sit and spend some time, we spent 3 days together, him guiding me and telling me what he learned in the process of becoming a head coach in the NFL, and what helped him, the mistakes he made, and that. When I went into broadcasting, okay, who is assigned to teach me how to do it? John Madden. I did a preseason game with John in Houston, Texas. True story. Not live. He's doing it with some raw live. Got on the bus and went to Green Bay for the next week's game with him. Okay, for another practice game. He broke me in, and you know, a wonderful human being, a wonder and a great football coach. You know, the thing is, it took a great football coach like that 21 years to get into the Hall of Fame. And did he ever cherish that experience? And you know, he's in the Hall of Fame in broadcasting. He's in the Hall of Fame of marketing. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Commercials.
Yeah. Marketing. It's amazing. You know.
Well, I know you guys are like the exact same age too. So it just really, you guys are, linked for many reasons, but Coach, before we get you out of here, I got to ask, about Vermeil wines, because I just now, after a year and a half, Carl sent us some last year. Okay. I just now busted out the Chardonnay like a month or so ago, right around Christmas. Absolutely amazing. I still got the other two sitting there for a special occasion. What do you got going on at Vermeil Wines right now? Tell us what people can expect. They can go to vermeilwines.com and check out everything. What do you have coming up? Anything?
Well, we've experienced the best year. We've experienced a championship year for the first time. 13 years in the business, the first time we're in black, the first time we make money. And I never went into business to make money. I went in the business to make good wine, and my friends put money in it and turned my hobby into a business. Okay. Carl's a partner. Trent Green's a partner. Todd Collins is a partner. I've got good support staff. I'm not a winemaker. Thomas Brown is the Belichick of in Napa Valley. I think he's the best winemaker in the country. He's our consultant and Drex, our main winemaker, Andy Jones, and they do a beautiful job. Our wines have gained great credibility. They're getting A- grades consistently. The Chardonnay that you tasted is the only grape not grown on the Freddie Annie Vineyard. That's grown in Dutton Ranch over in Sonoma County.
Oh,
And it's a high-end Chardonnay vineyard in Sonoma County. Chardonnay grapes on the average are better in Sonoma County than they are in the Napa County. But the vineyard that I'm involved with, I've been involved with since I was born, because the lady that owned it was my babysitter. Okay. Anyway, it's doing well. I'm very excited about it right now. We're selling all the wine. We have 424 wine club members to date. Our goal is to be 500 by the end of the year. Then we've got to find a way to make more wine, because we can't service them. We don't retail or rather wholesale wine to distributors hardly anymore at all, or restaurants, because we have direct sales customers and a beautiful tasting room in Napa, 1018 First Street in Napa. Well, we have Chief fans that come in there all the time.
yeah.
I've had them call me up. So, I'm very proud of what my staff has done in regard to Vermeil wines. I'm only a partner in it. But I'm really pleased with the contribution of all the people that are hands-on.
Well, gonna have to get William Barty to kick in on some of those investments too, Coach.
He owes us that. He owes us that much.
There's a number of guys there. Morton Anderson is one of my biggest customers. I mean, he's a very great palate, and he loves good wine. He buys our wine, he drinks it, and also gives it as gifts. As I said, Todd Collins is a limited partner. Trent Green's a limited partner. Carl's a full-fledged partner, and it's going very well right now.
I'm so glad to hear that. Everybody go to vermeilwines.com, and there's several different packages you can get. You can join the wine club, like Coach said. There's so much going on there. Coach, before we let you go, we got to get your prediction for Sunday night. Bills come to Kansas City. There's a lot of these playoff games seem to be 50-50 games. So many capable teams right now, but it's focusing on Chiefs Bills. You said it's going to be hard to bet against the Chiefs. So the Chiefs get it done. How does it go?
Well, I say the Chiefs beat them by 3. I think it'll be a tight football game. We'll see explosive plays by both teams. Okay. And the team that doesn't turn it over, or the team that takes it away, is going to win the football game. The team that doesn't commit the dumb mistake, jump off sides, or offensive lineman move illegally and bring a touchdown back. You can't make up for those kind of plays. And our game against Indianapolis is that Tony Gonzalez scores a touchdown, it gets called back, we lose the game.
And Priest
Holmes fumbled.
Priest Holmes fumbled.
Yeah. That just happens, and you just can't do that and beat a team that's equal to you.
You're right. Absolutely can't thank you enough for the time, Coach. It's a true pleasure as always. Enjoy the games this weekend and enjoy everything you got coming up here at Vermeil Wines. It's truly tremendous, and it's always such a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Always great to be in the neighborhood of Kansas City in any way I can get there. Wonderful place.
You're in good hands, sir. Thank you.
Always an honor. Thank you.